Welcome back to the program. Well, country music star Keith Urban has hung up on an Adelaide radio station after they asked him how he felt about his wife Nicole Kidman filming sex scenes with other men. Urban was chatting with Mix 102.3 duo Hayley Pearson and Max Burford this morning when they asked him this question.
If you're happy to play this game, the first thing I thought of with your beautiful wife Nicole Kidman being on so many great movies, TV shows all the time. I watched a movie with her and Zac Efron recently, Family Affair, and I thought,
that's a good one.
What does Keith Urban think when he sees his beautiful wife with beautiful younger men like Zac Efron having these beautiful love scenes on TV and radio? Oh, why has that happened? What's just happened to you?
He's disconnected from Zoom.
Did he just hang up on us?
I think his team hung up on us because they didn't want us to ask that question.
Really?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Were we told not to ask that?
No.
That's
He's
what's
gone.
happened.
Keith Urban just went up in my estimation. Let's bring in our panel, Sky News host Danica De Giorgio and Sky News contributor Will Kingston. Will, you know you're on the wrong side when one of the nicest celebrities on the planet hangs up on you.
No, rubbish. What did he expect he was going to talk about, James? Was he going to talk about the finer points of Middle Eastern foreign policy or critique feminist literature? When you go on these FM radio stations, these are the silly games that you've got to play. And if you want to flog tour tickets or sell albums, that's exactly what you know you're getting into. So don't pick up the phone if you're not willing to answer those questions.
I reckon Danica might disagree. What do you reckon, Danica? Was Urban right to end the interview? What do you think?
No, actually, I do agree. I mean, the bloke goes on for this. It's called a Wall of Truth segment, James. So, you know, what did he expect? He knew he was going to get asked all sorts of intimate questions. I just think he's lucky that he wasn't asked about Nicole Kidman's latest movie called Baby Girl. I mean, the details of that one I can't even talk about, even at this time slot at night. But I watched it on a plane recently, and I was worried that the people around me were thinking, gosh, what sort of content is this girl watching? So he's lucky that he didn't get asked about that. But look, when you go on FM radio, what do you expect? They're not there for anything else but a big headline, for some sort of big grab that they can talk about and they can plug. And look, here we're talking about it now. The guy hung up on them and that's become a story for their station. So for them, it's good publicity. So no, I agree. What did he expect?
I probably expected to talk about, I don't know, his music, which is what he's famous for. But there you go. You've surprised me, both of you.
His wife's famous as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about her fame. Don't talk about, you know, the sex scenes that he's got to watch as the husband.
No, look, fair, I understand that. But in the end, you go on FM radio, James, this is what you expect.
I guess you're right. Stick to AM. Anthony Albanese is trying his best to defend Kevin Rudd over fresh concerns that the US ambassador is the obstacle, blocking the Prime Minister's meeting with Donald Trump. Have a listen to what our PM said this morning.
President Trump has had very warm discussions with me. The relationship with the United States is an important one. It says something about the importance that we place in it, that we have a former Prime Minister in Kevin Rudd as our ambassador. That says a lot about the priority that we place in the relationship with the United States.
Will, we could have other former ambassadors or other former Prime Ministers as ambassadors who haven't trashed Donald Trump. What did you make of Anthony Albanese's defence of Kevin Rudd?
Pretty unconvincing, as with most things that Albo says, James. The reason why we've got a former PM there is because it's the most plum job in Australian politics and everyone wants it. But more than that, and call me crazy here, but in an ambassadorial role where your job is to build relationships, it helps when the person you're trying to build the relationship with actually likes you. And it is bleedingly obvious that Rudd is despised by the administration and despised by Trump. If you look at the most successful recent ambassador, it was Joe Hockey. And it was because there was obviously a personality mesh there with Trump. You saw them going out playing golf, and he had a really constructive attitude to the relationship. I've heard him say several times, when you go to Trump, come with solutions, come saying, I'm your partner, I want to help you. I can't possibly imagine Rudd going to Trump in that way because Rudd loathes Trump. And we all know that Rudd loathes Trump, and Trump knows that Rudd loathes Trump. So this has been a terrible appointment from the outset, and it's not obviously not getting any better.
Well, Danica, obviously relationship matters when it comes to Trump, but Anthony Albanese is leaving himself open to the accusation that he's prioritising his relationship with Kevin Rudd over Australia's best interests.
Well, of course he is. I mean, don't forget that Kevin Rudd was once a former mentor of Anthony Albanese, and I just think all he's doing is trying to smooth over, say, look, there's nothing wrong, when really in the background we've got deteriorating relations with our number one ally. We can't get the President of the United States, the most powerful man, on board. Anthony Albanese can't even secure a meeting with this bloke. As we found out today, he's now banking on a series of summits that are coming up in India and then later this year in November, in the hope that he may or may not get a meeting. But the elephant in the room, it always has been, is Kevin Rudd. Now, if Kevin Rudd had a shred of decency, he would actually go, maybe I need to leave this role. Or if Anthony Albanese did, he would tap him on the shoulder and go. In the end, Donald Trump does politics very differently, and Donald Trump is a businessman, a strong businessman, and he doesn't forget things. We know that Kevin Rudd has said awful things about him in the past. He called him the village idiot, a traitor to the West, and then when he was re-elected, James, Kevin Rudd annihilated his keyboard, went and deleted all the evidence of things that he'd ever said about him on social media. But in the end, Trump doesn't forget that. So Anthony Albanese can try and make out like, oh, you know, everything is okay. We know it's okay. And you'll also recall James, a pollster, yesterday on Sky News said that the problem is the ambassador. So that speaks volumes.
Let's
James,
go from the elephant in the room to the lizard. Yeah, Will, go ahead.
Well, I'll just add a different spin, which is I don't necessarily think he's prioritising his relationship with Rudd as much as he just knows how evil and vindictive and spiteful Rudd can be if he is scorned. So I think he would go, if I'm going to get rid of Rudd, Rudd will make my life incredibly difficult. And so it's just easier to keep him in the job. I think that's really what's behind it.
Well, yeah, you raise a good point. If Kevin Rudd's not in Washington, D.C., he's in Australia, so maybe that feeds into Anthony Albanese's decision. A proposed $1 billion energy farm for North Adelaide that would power 250,000 homes is on thin ice after environmentalists said it would destroy the habitat of an endangered mini lizard. Will, I'm as passionate about pygmy blue-tongue lizards as anyone, but wind farms do a lot more environmental damage than that.
Yeah. The dark satanic mills of the modern age strike again, James. The great tragedy of this push to renewables, and there are several great tragedies involved in it, is that they actually undermine practical environmentalism. They are littering the great landscapes of Australia. They're obviously doing untold damage to our wonderful lizard populations, and they make energy more expensive, which makes all of our critical industries more expensive. So it's just yet another small, but I think important example of how just self-destructive this push is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to put that to you, Danica. This is just another example, isn't it? It's okay to destroy the environment as long as it's under the guise of saving the environment.
Yeah, under the guise of a lizard, James. Look, honestly, the problem is, and this is what you don't hear from all the eco-zealots and all the climate warriors, you don't actually hear about the environmental damage, the habitat loss, the destruction of marine life, the destruction. You've got to razor the lands to put in all of these wires. I mean, here in Australia, we need about 10,000 wires just so Chris Bowen and co can connect wind and solar generation to the grid. And that comes at the expense of farmers, of course, who have to wake up every day to see these wires razoring their lands. But you don't hear that. I was a couple of weeks ago actually in Croatia, and I saw all of these wind farms as I was travelling from one place to another. And literally, the land is completely destroyed. It is bare, and you see one after the other, one after the other. These things aren't turning, of course. It's in the middle of summer, so it's a part-time energy source, as we know. But what I thought to myself was, gosh, this looks so hideous, and this is what we're facing in Australia, because you've got Chris Bowen so determined to put up these wind farms or carve out in the monstrosities of the sea. And it really is awful. So, yeah, it is a small example, this lizard that you raise, but it actually represents a bigger problem, and one that the climate warriors are just not very eager to talk about, James.
Indeed. All right, more Labor lies, this time from Assistant Minister for Workplace Relations, Patrick Gorman. He tweeted this morning, and I quote, "Here's what to look forward to when you wake up on the 1st of July 2025. Fairer wages, cheaper energy. So I thought, hang on a second, how is energy getting cheaper? Well, his next tweet explained it. He wrote, Australian households will receive $150 off their power bills. This support builds on earlier rebates, already easing pressure across the country. Danica, a taxpayer-funded payment to electricity companies to offset higher prices doesn't mean cheaper energy. It's a bald-faced lie.
Yeah, it was always going to be, because once those rebates start petering out, James, you and I, the consumers, we were always going to reap the costs of this. And Labor's energy plans are killing family budgets. They're putting up prices. It really is nothing more than economic self-harm. So it's all well and good for Labor to say, oh, look, but we're giving you $150 here. Yeah, but at the end of it, we're still going to end up with having to pay more. In fact, the average typical East Coast household power bill, I read, is around $428 a quarter for the first half of the financial year, but this is set to jump to $503, James, from January once those rebates end. So Labor can spin it all it likes, but we know that as of July 1 today, the power bill's up 9%.
Really quickly, Amazon is on track to employ more robots than humans in its warehouses, saying it'll make deliveries cheaper and faster. They currently employ 1.5 million people, but they've just deployed their 1 millionth robot. And Will, I get this. Robots will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't whinge or whine. They don't take sick leave. There's no payroll tax. And best of all, you can sack them if you get sick of them. Just pull the plug out and bin them. What's not to like about this?
I don't think there's something to like or dislike. It's just the reality, James. This would be like complaining about the introduction of the production line 100 years ago. It's going to happen whether we like it or not, and I think we just have to get ready for it.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. In 10 seconds, Danica, what do you think? Is this a problem or is this just the future?
It is the future, James. There's nothing we can do about it. Robots are here to stay. It's just the way it goes.
Let's hope it never applies to TV hosts, Danica. Thank you both for being on the panel. I appreciate you. And Danica, I'll be with you on Sunday night for Danica and James.